What up? What up? What up? What's going on? I want to welcome everyone back to the Doghouse, powered by Drunk Sports Talk Television. We back, y'all. Doghouse. We talk boxing. Nothing but boxing. Strictly boxing. What's good, y'all? How's everybody feeling today, man? It's been a while. Before we get into today's topic, I just urge you guys to please smash that like button. Please subscribe. It's gonna help the show grow. It's gonna help put the show in the algorithm, which gives us impressions, and it's gonna get the show to more people in their feeds. And if you like it, please comment below. If you dislike it, comment below. You keep it respectful. I keep it respectful. There's nothing wrong with discourse and debate. It's just, we do it respectfully. That's all. You know what I'm saying? We talking sports. I want to shout out to everybody who's been watching the show, everybody who's been supporting the show. We appreciate it. Also, real quick, if you like MMA, we have a weekly show called MMA Talk with my man G had character and my man Q. It's a really good show. They break down all the upcoming cards. They review all the past cards, and they talk whatever going on in the world of MMA. Most most of the time UFC. Excuse me. So really good show. Check that out, man. It's been a lot been going on in the world of boxing. We've been getting good, really mega fights. The Andy Cruz Mortala card was great. Obviously, the Canelo, the ring card in Saudi, Canelo and Bud Crawford. The Teal Shakur was amazing. The Xander Abbas Baru fight was great. The Josh Kelly Bachram card was great. We got good cards coming up. You know what I'm saying? Obviously the Ryan and man, it's just, Mario Barrios. I think tonight we got Nick Ball and Brandon Figueroa, and there's a bunch of other cards. Keith Thurman and my man Sebastian Fondora, the Towering Inferno is coming up. So boxing has been good to us this year, man. The days of you know uh, bullshit fights and trying to sell it to us like they're fucking mega pay-per-views. That's starting to fade away. It's not totally gone, but it's starting to fade away. Um, Turkey's been in here moving and shaking with the emergence of Zuffa. I feel like it's put a little bit of pressure on some of these promoters to deliver best fights. Because a lot of times the promoters were trying to feed us shit and telling us it was sugar. You know what I'm saying? Like with a lot of stuff, man. But like I said, it's starting to really do its thing. Today I really want to talk about probably the most dangerous and most entertaining division in in boxing, man. And everyone knows that. If you're a boxing fan, you watch boxing. Even if you're a casual, the 54-pound division is probably the gauntlet of boxing at this time. You know what I'm saying? And let's start with my guy Boots, man. Philly legend, the Philly boogeyman. Let's say that, man. The Philly boogeyman. Now I know what you're gonna say. He hasn't really done anything at 54 yet. Part of that is because dudes didn't want to fight him. Part of that is because he just moved up. And so what, he wanted to tune up. He wanted to get acclimated to it. Not everyone's the same. Not everyone's Devin. Not everyone's Errol who don't do tune ups and. But to me, Jaron Boots Ennis, best guy in this division. We saw him at the I'm about to say Tupac Shakur. We saw him at the Shakur Stevenson, Tiafimo Lopez card last week. He was in the audience. I believe Chris Mannix asked him for an update on a potential Vergil fight, and he basically said, "I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Uh, Within the next 3 or 4 days, hopefully we're gonna hear something." And lo and behold, I heard nothing official, but I was on watching Blue Blood's channel the other day. Shout out to my man Blue Blood, dopest, one of the dopest channels, one of the dopest boxing channels out here on these internet streets. He reported that Rick Marigan, Vergil Ortiz's manager, hinting that the fight is signed, that Vergil has signed the fight. No date, no official announcement, but Blue's usually on point. He's connected out here. He kind of, he's out here in these streets. He has his ear to these boxing streets, and he kind of knows what he's doing. That is great news. If that's the case, that is phenomenal news. That is the fight we wanted. That's probably the biggest fight in boxing right now, next to Devin and Shakur. Obviously, that fight's not done, but you're starting to see rumblings of that. Don't know if we're gonna get that fight this year, right? And I don't want to get too much into that because we're gonna probably go into that at some point this week. But you're starting to see them go back and forth. You've seen Dev say, he wants little brother and big brother, meaning Keyshawn Davis. Congratulations to him on an amazing win against Jermaine Ortiz. Impressive win. Shout out to Keyshawn. And then he calls Devin out, and we'll get into all that. Then he kind of switched up to Lewis Crocker, and we'll get on. We're gonna talk about that maybe later on this week. But outside of that fight, Vergil and Boots, it's probably the biggest fight in boxing. If you could think of another one that's bigger than that, leave it down in the comments, man. But I think that's a great matchup, man, and I'm so excited to get that. I guess Turkey will be paying for that. I don't think Eddie's gonna fund that. It'll probably be if I had to guess, it'd be a Riyadh card, Ring Magazine card. But listen, both guys are great fighters, great trainers. Bosey's an amazing trainer. Bosey's the youngest 70-year-old guy I've ever seen in my life. Shout out to Bosey for staying young. Looks young, moves around like he's young. God willing, I'm like that when I'm 70. That man really like 50. Bosey, an amazing trainer, did an amazing job with his son, obviously. Did a really good job of Andy Cruz, even though he lost to Mortala. I think, Andy Cruz is still, still in the incubator. He's still cooking a little bit. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think at some point, I think you'll start to see a lot of progression from Cruz, depending on where he stays at, 35, 30. I heard he might be going down to 30. Not sure. Cruz is still a good fighter. Shout out to Mortala. Back to that. Bosey, amazing trainer. Robert Garcia, an amazing trainer. I saw them. Speaking of Cruz and Mortala, they, those two went at each other. They faced off, talking about the trainers in that fight. And then I saw them in an interview together. I think it was maybe like a week after that, I believe. I forgot what channel it was, pardon me. They were talking to each other. They were showing each other a lot of respect. I was digging that shit. And they were basically saying that fight is going to happen. It's crazy because we all know the De La Hoya, which is Vergil Ortiz promoter, and Rick Morrigan, who is Vergil Ortiz's manager. They had a feud. That feud seems to have died down a little bit. You're hearing it's going to happen. I would say, what are we in? We're in February, March. I'd probably say by the time the fight gets announced, a full training camp for both of them, February, March. I'd say if we're lucky in April sometimes. And I'm glad this fight is being made, like I said, because Oscar seems, we all know, and respect to Oscar, man. Oscar's a promoter, and promoters do promoter things. They try to preserve their fighters, get the most money out of them, and it definitely seemed like Oscar was trying to duck this fight. You know what I'm saying? From the end of the everyone makes fun of this dude's name. From the end of the fight with Boots and Vergil and Lubin. I thought it was the Boots and Limos, whatever his name was. By the end of the after the Vergil Erickson Lubin fight, Boots gets in the ring, right? Let me just do a little recap. Boots gets in the ring. You see the face off. Everyone's kind of excited. Everyone's saying, "Oh, this is the next fight." Boots had his tune up. Vergil had, beat. Boots smoked his guy. Vergil smoked Lubin. All respect to Lubin, honestly. And you're saying to yourself, "Oh, wait, they get in the ring. They do the face off. This fight is next." Everyone's excited. Then Oscar starts talking that crazy shit. Oh, as long as he's the A side, as long as the money's right, and there's other fights out there like Errol Spence and Dallas and Jerry's World and all that shit. And you're like, "Oh, this is dog talk. This is dog talk, right?" And then you're saying, and then what got me a little bit. Because, listen, these fighters are not scared of each other. Let's be honest. Vergil's not scared of Boots. Boots is not scared of Vergil. 98% of the time it's the promoters moving funny. But what these guys don't understand is, or what the public don't understand is, sometimes these promoters don't understand, or even these boxers don't understand. The promoter works for you. But then Virgil was kind of like, "Oh, Spencer's my dream fight. We could fight him in, we can fight in Dallas, in Dallas Cowboy Stadium, in Jerry's World. It'd be a huge crowd because Errol's from out there, and there's a huge Mexican population out there that will support, Floyd Mayweather's green print Mexican versus the slick black fighter. Um, and I was saying to myself, man, that shit don't even sound right. You know what I mean? With all due respect to Errol Spence, Errol ain't fought in almost 3 years, and before that, I think the Ugas fight was probably a year and a half before that. So I want to say about 4.5 years, he's had 2 fights. You know what I mean? And obviously, we know we came off the accidents and psychological whooping he caught from Terrence. And I love Errol, but I wouldn't want to see Errol against a Vergil Ortiz right now. You know what I mean? I know he don't do tune-ups, but I wouldn't want to see. I wouldn't want to see that. And we don't know if Errol's coming back. I think he should stay retired, but if he does come back, it shouldn't be against a guy like Vergil at this point. We saw him flirt a little bit with the Fundora shit. You know what I mean? He had jumped in the ring. Fundora's fighting Keith Thurman. That's another good fight. Trying to stay on one thing, but there's so many good things going on in boxing. But yeah, back to Vergil. Vergil had kind of mentioned that, and I said, damn, man, it could be interpreted as duck talk. You know what I mean? But I think, one, I think the Zone, they weren't going to sanction that Errol fight, from what I understand, or any other fight, I believe, than the Vergil Boots fight, or maybe they would have sanctioned something else with stiffer competition. You know what I mean? But Fundora is busy. Bachman was busy at the time. Josh Kelly obviously was busy at the time. He's now the champ. We'll talk about that. Xander Zayas was busy at the time. So it was enticing to hear Boots versus Vergil. And I think, from what I understand, the Zone was putting pressure for Golden Boy to make that fight. And I'm not sure what's going on with Golden Boy's deal with the Zone. I heard they haven't read up with them yet. Maybe the rumors of this fight being signed, maybe that's part of the re-up. We'll do the Golden Boy fight. We'll do the Vergil Boots fight if the Zone reads up with us. But it felt like, with the Zone putting pressure on Golden Boy and Vergil, and the boxing fans and the boxing world, it was constant pressure. We weren't going for any other bullshit, unless it was a Fundora, a Josh Kelly, a Bachram, any of the other killers that not even like a Charlo. We didn't want that at all. You know what I mean? We wanted like an official fight, even like a Thurman. We wanted an official fight at 54, and I don't think the public was gonna let Golden Boy get away with a Errol Spence fight, or a lighter touch, so to speak. So I think the public pressure definitely had a lot to do with Rick Morrigan and Vergil Ortiz saying, you know what, we're gonna sue. We're gonna sue these guys. We're gonna sue Golden Boy because no one wants to look like a duck. Vergil's a very proud guy. Vergil's a very good fighter. Nobody wants to look like a duck. Let's just keep it 1,000. And I think that public pressure is what it led to Rick Morrigan and Vergil and Vergil's whole team suing Golden Boy. Get me this fight. I just said a little while ago, right? The promoter works for the fighters, not the other way around, right? But sometimes it feels like the promoters think the fighter works for them. You know what I mean? Like I said, 54 is crazy. You know what I mean? We only wanted to see that fight. So I think the public pressure did play a part, along with the Zone, in persuading Golden Boy to make this fight. And the rumor is, like I said again, shout out to Blue Bud, that this fight, Rick Morrigan is hinting that this fight is now made or close to being made. It sounds like it's possibly made. We haven't heard an announcement yet. I don't know. And I just want to say this, Virgil. We know Virgil's no chump. We know he wants to smoke. I just think that people are so worried, and we still have remnants. We're starting to get out of this, but there's still remnants and residue of the Mayweather era where everyone wants to hold on to that. Oh, fighters don't want to take chances. But now we're starting. This is a great era of boxing we're entering. We're starting to see these big fights. I mentioned big fights. We talked about it this just last past year. There was a ton of them. We're starting to see that if a fighter loses, let's say Virgil would lose to Boots, or Boots would lose to Virgil, you don't throw the fighter away. He builds back up a little bit, gets back up in the rankings, gets another big fight. You know what I'm saying? He goes and fights a Boachuk or a Fundora or Zayas. Well, actually, we'll talk about that. Zayas, no, because Zayas could be unification. But, a Keith Thurman, a Rashidi Ellis, Santillan, you know what I mean? Someone like that, a Brandon Adams, like I said, a Caleb Walsh, somebody like that. They don't get thrown away because they have one loss. And we have to stop that in boxing, man. We have to stop that. And I think it's starting to see that. And I think Turkey's influence definitely is part of that, because they're not careful. Zuffa's just starting, but they have signed a couple of really good fighters, and we'll get into the Zuffa thing at a later date. But I just want to say that we can't throw away the boxer off of one loss or even two losses. This is boxing, man. Some of the greatest fighters have multiple losses on their records. From Sugar Ray to, the De La Hoya to Bernard Hopkins to, Muhammad Ali to, you name it. There's so many, man. Pernell Whitaker, James Toney, Roy Jones. It doesn't take away from the greatness, and I think we need to stop that. But Virgil and Boots is an amazing fight. We just saw Josh Kelly lift that strap off Bachram, the so-called boogeyman. No disrespect to Bachram, but I never felt he was the boogeyman in that division because he tuned up Tim Tszyu. Shout out to Josh Kelly. Fought an amazing fight. Very elusive. I want to talk about that, down the line. Very elusive. So this is set up for Boots to do some good shit, or Virgil to do some good shit, or Xander Zayas, who came off an amazing win, who just unified the straps. Maybe we get Virgil, the winner of Virgil and Boots versus a Xander. I know he's top rank and everything, but they don't really have a network. That fight shouldn't be too hard to make. You know what I mean? Be a crazy fight. Boots goes into Puerto Rico. Boots goes into Puerto Rico and boosts his star even a little bit more. And Xander's a tremendous fighter. He has a lot of skills, a stiff jab. He has movement. He goes to the body well. Xander's a really good fighter. I don't think he can beat Boots, but hey, you don't know till you get him in the ring. You never know, right? Or we get another unification. We get the Josh Kelly unification, probably even easier to make, seeing how Eddie Hearn represents Josh Kelly. That'd probably be easier fight. Same network, right? Same promoter. If Eddie wants to keep Boots happy, because I truly believe Boots is the future of boxing. Between him, Shakur, Haney, David Benavidez. I'm not talking about the young guys, the Zaquin Moses, the Kermel Motons, the Robert Mayweathers, the Emiliano Vargases. I'm not talking about the young guys coming up. There's a lot of them, 1,000 of them, the Tiger Johnsons, all that. I'm talking about the guys who are right now in their prime. Those guys are probably the biggest, Boots, Dev, Shakur, got to throw Keyshawn in there, David Benavidez, who else am I thinking about? A Shushu, even guys like Roach. There's a lot of guys. I'm trying to think who else comes to mind. A guy like Roach, Tank is out the game. Who else? Rohan Polanco. He's kind of still a little green. You know what I mean? But I'm talking about the main guys. You know what I mean? Brian Norman Jr. He's on the way up. I believe he'll bounce back. I think he'll do very well. those guys, right? You got to put Ryan Garcia in there. Those guys right now are the big names in boxing. Got to throw in the Richardson Hitchens. Got to throw in the Gary Antoine Russell. There's a lot of guys, man. I'd be here all day naming those guys. Can't throw out Teofimo Lopez either, but these guys, in a way, obviously, um, so these guys are the guys right now, and I believe Boots is one of these guys who will be on the pound for pound list. He just needs to work, and if Eddie wants to keep Boots happy, he'll get him that unification bout because now you're going in. He'll be able to go in there with a strap. You know what I mean? He'll be able to go in there with the Josh Kelly strap because as much as big as a fight as the Vergil fight is, there's no title on the line. It's just a huge fight. You know what I mean? The green print, the slick black fighter versus the pressure Mexican with power. And Vergil's not only a pressure fighter, he can move. He can move a little bit. You know what I mean? But Boots is going to be tough to deal with. But I'm excited to see that fight. But if he gets that fight, if Boots can beat Vergil, get the Josh Kelly fight, it lines up a huge. And plus, if he gets the Josh Kelly fight, he gets to go over to the UK. UK have a lot of really great fans. You can always boost your international star power. Kind of like what Errol Spence did when he went over there with Kell Brook. I think got the IBF strap, beat him in there. His star power boosted. You started to see Errol do like a lot of more pay-per-view stuff. You know what I mean? Even Terrence Crawford a little bit. Wait, did Crawford fight over there? No, I don't think. I'm not sure if Crawford fought Kell Brook in UK. Matter of fact, I think I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. I can't remember if he went over. I think it was over here though. But you boost your international stardom. You get that belt because I think Boots handles Kelly easily. You get that belt. You set up the unification. Now you could do it in Puerto Rico, which I don't even really think is necessary. It's dope, or you do it in the Garden, right? Heavy Puerto Rican population in New York City, where I'm from. Shout out to all my New York niggas. And Philly's right down the block. Philly's an hour and a half away. You know what I mean? North Philly or whatever. So you get the guys coming up the turnpike from Philly and Jersey, and you get all the the New York guys that Boots has because a lot of dudes in New York support Boots, and you get the all the Puerto Ricans in New York and down from Florida, even down from Florida, wherever there's Puerto Rican population on the East Coast, they'll come up to support that fight. You do it in the Garden, the Mecca of boxing. It's huge, amazing. I think that's the way to go when it's for unification and. It's a big fight. Who has a ring belt right now? Let me just check this real quick. At 54. 54. Who has the ring belt? I should know this. Well, pardon itself. The ring is vacant, so maybe the ring belt goes on the line for that. So we'll see. But anyway, it's a really good fight. Really good scenarios could take place. It's really good news that sounds like Vergil Ortiz and Jaron Boots Ennis will be squaring off. From what the rumor is, he has signed a contract. No official announcement. But this is a huge fight for boxing. Let's go boxing because we're giving them good fights. Check out the fights tonight. Like I said, Nick Ball, Brandon Figueroa, Curiel at 47 is fighting tonight. So there's some good fights on tonight. And I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to talk some Deontay Wilder. We're going to really unpack, what's going on with Deontay Wilder and that situation. And we're going to try to get more episodes out daily, or at least 3 or 4 per week. Shout out to everybody for tuning in. I love y'all. Appreciate it. You rocking out in the doghouse. You already know boxing's new voice. And we're very excited to really do our thing this year. And we're going to be a lot more consistent. We're going to have a lot more episodes. You know what I mean? And I'm very excited. You already know. You're checking out the doghouse. Let's go.